Gravity is the force we almost never notice until something falls. A glass slips from a table. Rain hits the ground. Waves settle back into the sea. People walk. Buildings stand. And the atmosphere remains wrapped around the planet because gravity is always there, silently pulling everything toward Earth's center. Now imagine that pull vanishes. Not slowly, not over millions of years, instantly. For one impossible moment, Earth no longer holds anything down. The oceans no longer press against the seafloor. The atmosphere no longer hugs the planet. People, animals, vehicles, dust, trees, and every loose object on the surface are no longer anchored to the ground. At first, it might feel like floating. Then the disaster would begin. Earth would not simply become a zero-gravity playground. Gravity is not only what keeps our feet on the ground. It holds the atmosphere, shapes the planet, binds oceans to the surface, keeps the moon in orbit, and allows Earth to exist as a world instead of scattered material. If Earth suddenly lost gravity, the planet would stop behaving like a planet. The first second. The first thing people would feel is weightlessness. Your body would no longer press against the floor. The ground would not push back against you because there would be no gravitational pull trying to move you downward. Anything not attached would begin drifting, but this would not be calm for long. Earth is rotating. At the equator, the surface is moving at more than 1,600 kilometers per hour. Everything on the surface already shares that motion, so under normal conditions, we do not feel it. Gravity and friction keeps us moving with the planet. Without gravity, that connection begins to fail. Loose objects would continue moving according to their existing motion. People would drift away from floors and roads. Cars would lose traction. Dust, water, animals, furniture, and anything not secured would lift into the air. Inside buildings, the first moments might look like astronauts floating in a space station. But unlike a space station, Earth's atmosphere would not remain a safe, sealed environment. It too would be released. The atmosphere begins to escape. Earth's atmosphere exists because gravity holds it close. Air molecules are constantly moving, bouncing, rising, cooling, and falling. Some particles at the very top of the atmosphere escape into space naturally, but most remain bound because Earth's gravity keeps pulling them back. If that pull disappeared, the atmosphere would begin expanding outward. The air near the surface would not vanish instantly. It would still have pressure and momentum for a short time. People might breathe for moments, or perhaps longer in some protected spaces, but the atmosphere would no longer be stable. Gas would rush outward from the planet. Pressure at the surface would drop. Winds would become chaotic as air expanded upward and away. Clouds would spread and distort. Weather systems would lose the force that helps define vertical structure. The sky itself would begin thinning. Eventually, Earth would no longer have breathable air surrounding it. Without gravity, there would be nothing holding oxygen, nitrogen, water vapor, and carbon dioxide close to the surface. The blue sky would darken. The planet that once looked alive from space would begin losing the invisible layer that made life possible. The oceans would rise. The oceans are not simply lying on Earth like water in a bowl. They are held against the planet by gravity. Without gravity, the oceans would no longer stay pressed against the seafloor. Water would begin lifting, breaking apart, and forming enormous floating masses. Waves would no longer behave normally because there would be no downward pull resorting them to sea level. The concept of sea level itself would disappear. Coastlines would become meaningless. At first, water would continue moving with Earth's rotation and shape. It would not instantly turn into a perfect sphere above the planet. But over time, liquid would drift outward, separate into blobs, collide, and spread into space. Some water would freeze as it expanded into the cold. Some would evaporate more easily into the thinning pressure. Droplets, ice crystals, and vapor would surround Earth in a chaotic cloud. Every river would lose its direction. Waterfalls would stop falling. Lakes would rise out of their basins. Rain would no longer fall from clouds toward the ground. Earth's water cycle would collapse. The ocean that helped life begin would leave the planet that created them. The moon would leave. The moon orbits Earth because Earth's gravity keeps pulling it inward, while the moon's motion carries it forward. If Earth suddenly lost gravity, the moon would no longer be held in orbit around us. It would continue moving along the path it had at that moment. But without Earth's pull, that path would no longer curve around our planet. It would drift away from Earth's control. The moon would not shoot away like a bullet from an explosion. It would simply continue through space, still affected by the gravity of the sun and other planets. Over time, it would settle into its own orbit around the sun. Earth would lose its companion forever. This would also end lunar tides, eclipses, and the ancient relationship between Earth's rotation and the moon's orbit. But in this scenario, those long-term effects would hardly matter, because the immediate loss of Earth's own gravity would already be destroying the conditions for life. The moon would become one more object in the solar system, no longer belonging to Earth. And from the surface, if any could still see it through the escaping atmosphere, it would appear as a world slowly abandoning us. Earth would lose its shape. Gravity does more than hold objects to the ground. It shapes the planet itself. Earth is nearly round because its own gravity pulls material inward from every direction. Rock is strong over short distances, but over planetary scales, gravity dominates. It compresses the interior, creates pressure, and helps organize Earth into layers. If Earth's self-gravity disappeared, the planet would no longer be held together as one compressed body. It would not instantly explode like a bomb, because rocks, metals, and chemical bonds would still have strength. Mountains and continents would not immediately turn into dust, but the forces maintaining Earth's planetary structure would be gone. The atmosphere and oceans would escape first because they are fluids and gases. Loose surface material would follow. Dust, soil, sand, and broken rock would lift away more easily. Inside the planet, pressure would change. The weight of overlying rock helps maintain the conditions deep below. Without gravity, Earth's interior would no longer be compressed in the same way. The core and mantle would begin adjusting to impossible new conditions. Earthquakes, fractures, and violent geological changes would likely follow. A planet without self-gravity is not really a planet anymore. It's a collection of material that has lost the force holding it in one world. What happens to humans? Humans would not survive for long on the surface. The first danger would be impact. People would drift uncontrollably, collide with objects, and lose contact with shelter, food, and breathable air. Vehicles would lose traction. Buildings would become filled with floating debris. Outdoors, the expanding atmosphere would create violent motions and pressure loss. Even if someone were inside a sealed underground facility, the long-term problem would be impossible. Without gravity, water would not flow through pipes normally. Waste systems would fail. Air circulation would need to be fully mechanical. Food production would become extremely difficult. The planet outside would no longer provide oceans, weather, soil stability, or a breathable atmosphere. A space station is built for weightlessness. Earth is not. Human civilization depends on gravity in ways people rarely think about. Every drain, river, road, farm, building foundation, ocean current, rainfall pattern, and human body evolved under its pull. Without gravity, even basic survival becomes an engineering problem, and the engineering would be happening on a planet falling apart. If Earth suddenly lost gravity, the planet would not become peaceful or free. It would begin coming apart. People, oceans, air, soil, and loose objects would no longer be held to the surface. The atmosphere would expand into space. The oceans would rise from other basins and break into drifting masses of water, ice, and vapor. The moon would leave Earth's orbit. Satellites would scatter. Weather would collapse. Sea level would cease to exist. The planet's interior would begin adjusting to the loss of the force that once compressed and shaped it. If gravity returned after only a short time, the falling atmosphere, oceans, and debris could devastate the surface. If it never returned, Earth would stop being the living planet we know. It might remain as matter moving around the sun, but not as a stable world. Gravity is not merely the force that pulls us down. It is the reason Earth has an up and down at all. It's the reason oceans stay below clouds. Rivers run toward seas, the moon circles above us, and a thin layer of air remains close enough for every breath. Take gravity away and Earth does not become weightless, it becomes unmade.